Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Well, welcome. Welcome to Healing Generations podcast. This is Debra Louise Camarillo, and I am the proud daughter of Esteban Leos Camarillo and Anita Figueroa. And I'll never get tired of saying that because it's a reminder that people came before me. They came before us. So those ancestors that worked really hard for us to get to these places, we don't ever want to forget that they made ways for us, right? They abrieron camino for us to come through. And so just an honoring. And so when we bring them into the room, then we just honor them. So I am so glad to be here today, comadre. And and also, this is our monthly podcast that the National Comadres Network, we sponsor this podcast. And it's a time for us mujeres, for us women, to be able to sit and have a conversation just amongst ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that men can't listen. They're welcome to listen. But this is our conversation. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm just really excited to be here. And comadre, how you doing?
I'm okay, comadre. I'm just, we're coming into this holiday season and just trying to stay focused and remember at the time about love and joy and forgiveness and just reflecting, the winter time going in and checking in with myself, my little internal retiro, if you will, just to see what I want to let go of that I don't want to take into this new year, reflections about that and the lessons I've learned for this year. A lot of processing, really, internally, personally, but also trying to remember at the time of connecting with familia as well, and remembering our ancestors that came before us, all those beautiful memories we had, maybe with our abuelitas, abuelitos. That time is so precious these days, not always having the opportunity to get together and connect. So really want to focus on being present, putting the work aside. Work will always be there, but our familia, our salud, our health, our time together to create those golden memories, beautiful memories, and to pass on these traditions to the younger generation, so important, priceless. So giving thanks and honoring my abuelitos for my beautiful memories that I've been reflecting on so far this month, and wanting to really acknowledge and dedicate this time to them as well.
Mm. And so for you that are joining us for the first time, that was Maestra Susanna Armijo. And so we have had the privilege in doing this podcast for quite a little while now, comadre.
I know. Just cruising. It doesn't seem that long, but it is.
I know. and I just want to say in preparation, right, because we're getting ready to enter 2025. And oh my God, I never thought I'd even live to see 2025, and here we are, And like you said, comadre, in that reflection, right? So we just came out of the winter solstice.
Yes.
And it's that time, where traditionally we go, that's the time where the bears go to find that hibernation time, right? So we talk about that time of going inward.
Yes.
And just like you mentioned, the time of reflection. So what are those things that you might want to keep? And what are those things that you might want to let go? And I too, it's traditionally I do that at this time of the year, and we just want to encourage all of our listeners, to take a little reflection, take a pause, and think about your year and what are those things that you want to keep, and what are those things that you go, nope, I got to let them go, yes. Right? And I think the other part too is that not everybody will enter into 2025. And so we have our friends and acquaintances and families that are transitioning out.
Right.
And I know that, for us as well, this past weekend, we had to let go of my nephew. He transitioned out, but at the same time, we're here and we get to continue to be and go forward. So that means if we're here still, we still must have that sacred purpose.
Right.
Right? There's a purpose for us to be here. And so if you're joining us and wondering, wondering, oh my God, sometimes I don't know. If you're here, it's because you have a sacred purpose. So your work, my work's not done yet. And I know, comadre, we talk about this a lot, right?
Yeah, we do. And every time we think we're going to be done, Creator steps right in there to make us real clear. Like, no, not your plan, it's mine. So, we got to remember that and know who's really in charge.
That's right. Who's driving that car?
Yeah, but it's an honor. Just a real quick, throw in there that last year at this time I was recovering from that open heart surgery, triple bypass, and then this year with the hip replacement. So a lot of reflection still going on. I'm still composting that whole experience and what I've learned from that, and the importance of us taking care of ourselves. We'll work ourselves till we can't get up anymore. But that's not really, I'm learning, Creator did not just create us to work. It's about, all the gifts that we've been so blessed to have, and to really take time to embrace all of them and appreciate the things that we take for granted. Because you're right, we don't know when we're not going to be here anymore.
Yep.
Yes.
No, so true. And so coming back to sacred purpose, I'm so excited today because we have a guest with us, and I have had the privilege to know this person, to work with this person, and it's just a joy to be around this person. And I get excited, and I mean, the comadre always get excited when we see younger women and they're doing this amazing work, and she's another younger woman that is doing amazing things. And I'm so excited to be able to share this time with her. And I'm so glad that she's joining us today. And comadre, let's introduce her and let's start cruising on this podcast.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so honored you talk so highly of her. And I think we have a lot in common, Danzante-wise, so I'm excited for this conversation, of course, and learning about her journey. She is Maya Talina Ponce, the first-generation Chicana, born and raised in the San Francisco Mission District and in the heart of East Oakland. Her family roots are from the Tamiahua, Veracruz, Mexico people, and she comes from a strong lineage of women in education, as well as social justice. Maya received her BA in sociology and Spanish from Cal State Hayward, and her master's in social work from San Jose State University. Maya and her partner Rene have raised a beautiful blended family together, and also have launched a family clothing line business dedicated to the empowerment of their community, supporting their community. So important. As a licensed clinical social worker, Maya has been consistently committed to healing and upliftment of her community, not only through her professional career, but also through her spiritual journey, as she continues to dedicate her life to healing familia and community from colonization and the continued ills of oppression. Wow, it's a big bill to fill. But she's doing it so beautifully. She's so inspired by your work, Maya, and such an honor to have you with us today. Finally, divine timing, Creator's timing is always perfect. But I'd like to pass palabra to you, give you a chance to introduce yourself, maybe share a little bit about your family, yourself, your background, or the work you're connected to at this time, but really just share from your heart, your corazón. This is a time for joy and your love and corazón and whatever that your spirit wants to express. We're here to have a little comadreando with you.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful opportunity to be en comunidad juntas. And like I said earlier, I'd do anything for Deb. Deb is just such a light and such a wonderful person to be around. And I've learned so much just being able to just witness the way she works with people and touches people's hearts. And so how could I say no to Deb? Never. And so it's such a great honor to meet you, Susie, today. And thank you so much. Yeah, I had to sit with the words to share today. And first and foremost, always thanking Creator for this opportunity to be able to live in this prayer together and really recognize all those that have come before us and the ones that we've lost as well, that we are tasked to also hold their light, right, and shine forward. And so thank you for that. And really, like I mentioned, first generation Chicana growing up in the mission, but also rooted in Oakland. So I've had the benefit of living my whole life in both areas and committed and to community across the Bay and being able to travel in that way. And my family, we have a strong lineage of women who have dedicated their lives to education. And first honoring my great-grandmother, Eugenia Matamar, for all her sacrifices and raising my grandmother, Margarita Ponce, by herself as a single mother in Mexico. And my grandmother, with her family, committed to education, working as a teacher in Mexico and also in the U.S., and committed to pursuing all her educational goals and becoming a doctora at a time where that was not heard of, that wasn't common, that was, if we have the percentage of doctoras now at, less than 5%, I can't imagine what my grandmother had to go through. But to this day, in our family, she's the only doctora. So we still have work to do to honor that. But my abuelita, she got her doctorate in Spanish. And so she taught Spanish at San Diego State University and also at surrounding colleges. So a lot of the skills and the dedication and the commitment has been rooted in all the women in our family. Like, that is a message from day one where it was like, this is important for us, this is important for us to do. And so her experience and what she's been able to share with me definitely has, just really guided me. And what I can say is during my college years and undergrad, I decided to double major in Spanish because of her. And, language is lost. The Spanish language is easily lost. And if you are not consistently practicing it, especially if you're born in the United States, it's very difficult to continue to use it. And so I wanted to make sure to honor all of that hard work and decided to do a double major for that specific reason, and studied abroad for a year in Mexico and studied at the university for a year as well. And it is such a gift. And I've committed our family also to doing that, even in my daughter's education, making sure that she was in bilingual education and that we're able to use our language within family and community, but assuring that we also can step into any realm and use our language, right? So I just, those are just kind of some of the pieces of like who I am and where my roots are, and, why I'm so committed to, working within my community and in different areas, not just in community mental health, but in the hospitals or at the courts. I've made sure to think about all these places that I can provide support and make sure that our communities are heard and respected, and that we have equal access to, the rights here in the United States, and that we continue to fight for that. So that's just kind of a quick intro.
Yeah, that's very quick because it's very extensive. And so I just want to, share that with our audience, this is a very accomplished young woman. And I've had the privilege of working with her as we work together with youth. Mm-hmm. And she works also within the court system, to help have a fair and just representation for our families in this time where those rights are easily neglected if there is an advocacy for them. But Maya, I want to take you back.
Yes.
All right. And let me just, she's also a dance partner of mine. We go do Reda together too.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I love it because there's, balance and fun and in life. And so I appreciate that, her energy as well. But I want to take you back a little bit. And so, you shared about coming from a strong lineage of women. So you see those examples and you see hardship and how people navigate through hardship, right? Because, we all know being a single mother is so challenging. And then when the circumstances itself are layered in other countries, it even makes that more difficult. So you had those visions of what that could look like. But, as well as I do, you can have all of those examples, but yet not follow them. Mm-hmm. But what happened for you that really prompted you to get into the field of social work and the healing part of it, and especially working with the clientele that you do? What was that thing that just took you there?
So growing up in San Francisco Mission District in the 80s, right, very political. So it was very common to go with my mother to demonstrations, oftentimes a lot of support for the FMLN and FSLN, Nicaragua and El Salvador, that were going through their civil wars at the time. And so this was the framework of how I grew up and what was my reality. And it was just me and my mother. So my mother, single mother. And so I feel as if my lens and where I sit was very activated and open from a very young age. Very critical thinking was just a part of what my mother instilled in me, right? And the beauty of also living in the Mission District is that it's very diverse. The Latino community is very diverse. It's not just Mexican, but it's Mexican, Central American, South American. And so, again, I feel like I was really able to have a good framework to live in and to see the world, right? And so I can honestly say I think it was in high school. And I had a wonderful friend of mine, my best friend, Lucia. And her parents were very involved with the United Farm Workers. And it was at that time in high school that I started to become more involved. We did an internship as high school students at the United Farm Workers headquarters. And, this was a shift where I felt that I started to use my voice in a way to continue to support our community and uplift our people and call out injustices. So I feel like that's where a shift came for me, right? This kind of shift where I became activated. I was no longer just going along with my mother as a young child and having an understanding of the injustices in the world, but I started to make a shift for myself, right? And I said, okay, this is important to me. This is unfair. We have the power to call this out. We have the power to boycott, right? And so I started to, create this shift in myself. And, in that, I had the privilege to, attend Cal State Hayward and become involved with Mecha, and start organizing with young people in high schools. And, we did a big conference and we invited, keynote speakers. And thinking back now, I was like, why did they trust these 20-year-olds to be in charge of these walkouts? And just thinking liability now, right? But that was never in our consciousness, right? And it's like, well, we just have to do this and we're going to make it happen. And I mean, how beautiful to kind of reminisce in that place. But so I think that, again, my upbringing, but clearly identifying a point in my life that I began to create my path, right? And now thinking back, like, okay, this is how I can contribute, right? And so with a BA in social work, I was able to get in and work within community and do some case management, working with families who might have little children through Head Start. So I did that for some time. Also working in after school program and creating programs in middle schools, which was also great. And now thinking back, like, who would entrust a 20-year-old with, supporting an after school program? But it was great. It was fine. We had fun. And what I realized with the bachelor's and getting involved in community work and as a case manager, that there was something else that I was missing. There was something else that I could do. There was something else that I can tap into, but I wasn't there yet. And I remember thinking about that when working with mothers in the Head Start program and thinking about, I can look for resources. I can hand out possible information about programs, food pantry, housing. But there was another piece that we weren't touching. And what I saw through the collaborating organization Instituto Familiar de la Raza with the case management program through Head Start was a therapist work with the mothers and create healing circles. And at that point, I said, that's what I want to do. Like, it called me. I said, I want to be able to work with our gente in ways where we could talk about those things that maybe we've never really had permission to talk about, where we could have fun together and create new opportunities, where we could cry together, where whatever someone needed in the moment, but just a sacred space to really unpack experiences. And I think at that point was when I said, I need to go back to school. And that's when I said, okay, let me look at these master's programs in social work. And then I applied and fortunately was accepted at San Jose State University, which I just love their program because it allowed me to be me. It allowed me to use all of the beliefs that I hold, the ways that I believe in how we heal each other, the way that we can incorporate our traditional healing practices and how I communicate, or, the words that we might use that help us remember that medicine that we've have always had in us, but sometimes we just need to get a little reminder of, like, you've always known, So I just feel that program lifted me to the point to, one, believe in myself that I could do it, but to help create a container where this healing could happen. And so I started my journey as a therapist, and I learn every day. Every day. It's a beautiful practice I wholeheartedly believe in. And now I have the honor to supervise up-and-coming therapists accruing hours for licensure, and that's really important to me as well. And the reason that is so important to me is that I want to make sure and create a space, and also when working with families, where they don't have to describe every single experience to a clinician and inform them and educate them. I want there to be a place where they can just say, what that's like when, and it's like, yes, of course. No need to explain it, no need to take you away from what the healing purpose is right here in the moment, but like just have a shared knowledge and understanding. And that is so important for me to also provide that for up and coming therapists who are accruing their hours, because as a supervisor, I'm able to say, I get it. I could see how that also, that was really difficult to hold. I could see how in our culture, in our families, like, we have to unpack these hurtful things that are coming. And there's no need to describe what that is because we have a shared knowledge.
Oh my God. It's obvious that Creator and ancestors have spent a little more time on you. So talented, so gifted. What a calling, working in hospitals, advocating social justice, supporting our youth and the court system and helping them in that lane. Dancer, so many different things. It's what a gift, your priceless gift to be blessed with so much medicina, so much wisdom, hard-earned wisdom. You talk about in the beginning, come from strong mujeres, doctora, abuelita, and so many more. Your mom even being a single mother and still having that strength to not give up and go forward. And then there was also a time when you were a single mom, as well. I know we counsel a lot of single mothers that are just, today there's just so many things that they have to deal with and I'm just wondering if maybe you had some consejos that you might be able to offer for those single moms that might be out there listening, maybe, just feeling so hopeless and overwhelmed with how they're going to go forward and which direction to take. And just wondering, if they'll ever have a successful career or what their future will ever be like as they try to navigate the system and raising their own children. If there's any uninspiring words that you can remember that your mom gave to you or that you picked up along the way that can help to restore their faith and give them that inspiration to persevere and not give up. So all those single mamas out there working so hard, double time, triple time, just trying to provide. But they still want a life. We're a mom, but we're also a mujer. We're a woman.
Right.
How do we carve out that time for us so that we can help balance all of that, so that we can be healthy? And as you know yourself, the more we fill our cups, the more we can go back out there and have more to offer, not just from our own essence, but from our excess. And just we have more to give because we've taken the time to refill our own selves and nurture our own spirit. Maybe any consejos you might have to help our mamas out there.
Thank you. Right now, as you were just sharing, I wanted to say that I clearly remember a time when my mother had a heavy role because she was the mother and the father in the family. She was a nurturer as well as, had to make sure that I was taking care of my business and not to make it a gender experience, but I guess I just say that it's double the task, double the work. There's so many pieces where you are all of it, right? You are taking care of every single piece, right? And so, just now reflecting back, I'm just so grateful what she did for me, right? Stephen getting kind of emotional. But I think as children of single parents, we recognize and we value all the sacrifices. And I guess I would say to all the moms that you are doing an amazing job. Don't ever think that you're not. And as children, we notice it. We love you. We may not say it, but we see it every day. And so just to always remember that. And absolutely right. We have to also take care of ourselves and nurture ourselves because since we're holding so much, we have to take a little time out and count on our comadres for support. And I remember that, my daughter's father and I separated when my daughter was really young. She's only like a year old. And so I was a single parent for a short period of time. And then a couple of years later, I found my partner and we've been together for many, many, many years. But during that short time when my daughter was really young, I had to count on my comadres. I was in graduate school as well. And so I counted on my mother, I counted on my comadres, and that was such a beautiful experience as well. So I guess I would say that count on your comadres because that also fills your child's cup as well. Your child then is able to see that it's not just them, but they have a beautiful community that surrounds them. And family doesn't just have to look one way. It looks many ways, right? And so I would say that remember that you're not alone. You are not alone. You are loved. And that every sacrifice, whether said or not said, is felt and it is heard. And that if one ever does feel alone or isolated, even stating that to the person that's close to you, you will see how much people adore you and see you and will stand up with you, to keep moving forward, because it is not an easy task at all. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most selfless acts of love.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's
beautifully shared. Thank you.
Yeah. It's like that oldie, right? We only have one mama, right? So you've been involved in a lot of things, Maya. So you've had the experience of academia and learning and being able to fulfill those things that this system requires. And in that fulfilling and accomplishing those things, of course, it opens doors. You're able to navigate in that kind of way. But also, you haven't forgotten your indigenous ways, or those ways that you've inherited just through your DNA. And I'm just wondering if you could share a little bit more about that, because as we mentioned earlier, you are a danzante and a spiritual leader. Why didn't you forget those ways? Why do you incorporate those ways? Is it important, or is it just some kind of routine? Like, I want you to elaborate a little bit of how you navigate that, because I know you do. And so, so would you just share about that, and what place does that have in the way that you live your life?
That's the place that I walk in. I think that the more, the examples of having to go through academia and then, maneuvering through different types of institutions, the more and more I know what is the truth, and that's my spirituality. Like, the more and more I know that this is where I always need to stand in any decision that I make and how I move forward, that it has to be connected to my spirituality, number one. I have to always stand in that. And how is it that we develop that? I can honestly say it was a journey that I had to come on and find by myself. I think that at times in families, whether they be Catholic, whether they follow another form of Christianity, religion is taught in that way and is passed down, and also culturally, right? And for me, I had to make a clear distinction and understanding that my spirituality wasn't based in that, and that I knew that there was another connection that I needed to develop. And maybe I didn't know, but now thinking back, I was like, yeah, I see now that that's what I was incorporating in my life. And one of the greatest ways in which I was able to tap into my spirituality and honor my family was through danza. That was my original teachers. The ones that continue to guide me, was through danza, because I knew that the way that I hold my spirituality and the way that I'm able to give thanks was through movement. And that prayer for me was being able to dance and be able to connect to the drum. And so through danza opened up so many possibilities, so many opportunities to go deeper for myself and understand that this is exactly what I wanted to be able to provide my daughter. This is how I wanted to raise her, that our center is all our indigenous practices that have always been and will continue to be the heart of where we stand, right? And not these imposed religions and colonization that our people have suffered through, right? And to me, that is my truth, and this is where I stand, and what I wanted to assure that my daughter had the opportunity to grow herself and grow on this road. So I'm a danzante for life, even though at times I wish I could dance stronger, but I give what I can. And it's just been a beautiful experience in growing with my danza family, so it's, I want to say, a good 25 plus years that we've been all together in this journey.
And so how do you actually, because I know people are thinking, okay, so how does this help you, like being a social worker? how does this help you as how does it get integrated into your life, to keep you balanced, or how does it help you?
Well, personally, absolutely keeps me balanced. I think that learning traditional ways of protecting ourselves, understanding different energies, and what are the best ways to work within community and taking care of ourselves and also being able to help collectively is something that should be discussed more. And, just being part of and learning different rituals, different cleansings that we could use the sacred hierbitas that are around us that our abuelitas have always talked about, right? So that's just personally, but this is also beautiful energy and information that we can, discuss collectively, even in the workplace, because there may be moments when speaking with a family or parents, where they may describe being very stressed out, being very anxious, which is very common. And, what are ways and practices that we can incorporate traditional healing and slow things down, and just having this conversation with families is amazing. And that's all due to the gifts that I've received along the way. And really, in this process, opening the channel so I can hear the messages of my abuelitas from the past that I didn't necessarily know how to tap into, And so for me, danza was the beginning portal to allow me to understand at a deeper level these gifts that have been given to us. And it's a practice. And so my journey may be something very similar that someone else might have experienced, where they might not quite know how to, but they know that there's information they need to receive from past generations. And so by just beginning to talk about that, it normalizes and it says, you know what? We all have gifts in our family lineage that we haven't even tapped into. How do we listen to that? How do we bring that into today? Right? And so, yeah, I just am really grateful to really keep learning, because it's, every time I meet a new maestra, maestro, and different tradiciones and opportunities to, one, honor our ancestors, and two, honor the practices of the past, but bring it in the present so that it continues to live. And it's always present. It's always there. We just have to adapt to new environments. So the other thing that I'm very grateful for is that it doesn't have to look just one way. Because my familia's from Veracruz, the hierbitas in Veracruz are not the same here in Oakland. But it doesn't mean that they're not as powerful. It doesn't mean that I can't also incorporate them in the work I do, either for myself or my family, and also for my community, right? And so it's relearning how to have a conversation with all the healing entities around us so that these medicinas keep living, and reminding us that, again, it doesn't have to just look one way. We also have adapted and will continue to adapt, right? And so what's at the bottom is the essence and the power of the plantitas we use and the prayers that we speak and listening to the messages. So that's how I incorporate it.
Yeah, and I think as a therapist too, I think especially for our families that are very connected, I think the understanding when you're able to integrate that, like you said, it's not just one way. And we value and we validate, and I've seen you do that to families that they come in and they're like embarrassed, like, okay, well, we use this, but that they have the confidence to share that and not go underground with it. Or, oh, you know what? My grandmother was speaking to me. And as a therapist, in a Western way, go, oh my gosh, audible voices, maybe they're schizophrenic or,
Right.
and acknowledge, okay, wait a minute. There's nothing wrong with this person. They're having this experience with one of their ancestors, and allowing people to really share their truth without judgment, but embracing and validating where they're coming from. As a therapist, I know I value that within you. and the guidance for those generations coming after as you do your clinical supervision.
Thank you. Absolutely. I often look at the, that guiding DSM, but I just want to throw out the window. I'm like, what is it? Don't, and no, absolutely not. We're not going to work from that framework. We're going to stand in community. We're going to stand in spirit, and, we're going to have conversations. And, of course, with training and in anyone, in any type of training, you're going to bring different types of skills when necessary. If there's something more severe that's occurring, of course, and I'm going to bring in a different, knowledge base into the conversation. But that doesn't take away from the importance of what we bring in from our historical perspective, our actual lived experience, our community experience, our family experience. Like, it all holds a space in our conversation, and one is not greater than the other in any way. And so absolutely. And I think that's what I was trying to allude to with, this providing supervision and working with, clinicians that are coming into the field and, looking to accrue hours, that they understand and that we all understand and have a common understanding and knowledge that all of the pieces that who we are in the world have a place in the conversation, and it's all valid and it's all correct, and nothing is in any ways looked down on or thought of as not as important as what some European decide to classify some experience with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that. I feel like it's such an important discussion. I had a couple of calls this week with moms expressing to me that their children they're so empathic, they're so sensitive, highly sensitive, and almost feeling embarrassed. One of the mothers, like, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but when I'm doing my beadwork or when I'm focusing for a test, I hear all these voices in my head, and I recognize some of them. I don't recognize all of them, but it's confusing to me because I'm trying to focus and everybody's wanting to talk to me at the same time. So luckily her mother has that same gift, of being able to be open and receive those messages. And she was able to explain to her daughter, because her daughter was saying, I just want it to go away. I just want it to go away. I don't want to hear it anymore. And she was trying to explain to her, just need to learn how to cultivate it and be open, because that gift could be used to help others, if you're not afraid of it, and she was explaining it to her, and then her daughter felt better. But there's a lot of our parents that aren't familiar with that, and they don't know how to speak to it, and then they think, like Maesta's saying, we need you to get you checked, we need to
Yeah.
and they're just following their spirit and being open, and I'm just curious to know, because you're in so many different lanes of what you do, gracias a Dios for that. What is it that you see today the most that you're dealing with when we're talking about families and their children, that you feel that they are struggling the most with? And one of them is that what I was just sharing, the extra highly sensitive, empathic children, highly intuitive. But also there's a lot struggling, like, and I'm sure you hear all the social media bullying and all that kind of thing. I just want to get your perspective. Like, are there certain things right now that you feel like our youth really need help to navigate and have some understanding about?
It's a really wonderful question. I honestly feel that due to COVID, it's really hard on our children. There's so much learning that happens in schools. Socialization is so key and important. And I worry that because there was that time that was lost in the schools, that it feels as if it's a little easier for young people to become more isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think as parents and community, it's important for us to really reach out to young people. If we do see them a bit more isolated, or even within our family, to really express themselves, to get back to a place where it's easier to just have conversations with one another. We see that often, right? Me included, we're
And the
always on
phone.
our devices.
Right.
Exactly. And so just really acknowledging that impact that it has created. And so I think that a lot of young people are very anxious, and then we're seeing a lot of depression on the same. So we're kind of seeing both.
Right.
But the challenging piece is because we're coming more isolated and just so focused on the devices that we're not articulating in ways. And so I would definitely, just opening up that conversation in our families, and just like, how are you feeling? Like, I think we need to start having more heart to hearts again, or being more intentional. Maybe we do, but just more intentional. And I just also really love that example of the mom and their child talking about their sensitivity and openness and how the mother framed, this gift. But with that itself, it's a practice and we need guidance, right? And so it's important to have maestros and maestras in our lives that can guide us appropriately, So even if a parent doesn't know, like you mentioned, what to do, reach out to community. And, we can see like, oh, maybe this young person is really in tune and has this amazing gift and they should work with these, other amazing maestros and maestras and develop it, right? I think it's about developing these amazing gifts because quite honestly, we probably all have those gifts, but we just need to like open ourselves more up to it and have, the right people to guide us, on that path.
So true. Thank you for that, Maya. Thank you.
Yeah. I tell you, the time goes so quick.
No.
It's like you barely started. It seems like, time's already over. But, before we end, this podcast is called Healing Generations. And so I'm going to ask for a consejo from you. So, Healing Generation, what would your consejo be for the up and coming youth in their healing? And also for our elders, because we're talking about healing generations. So that means that we all need to be connected, right? That interconnectedness throughout the generations, right? From the baby to our elders. And so what would some of those consejos be for our elders in this time?
Oh, great question. I've been fortunate to see a lot of young people that are very wise, very, very wise, and have a beautiful way of looking at things. And I think that it's important to give space and learn from the younger generation. They have stepped up in ways in which have just been quite amazing, whether it's, speaking truth to the injustices that are happening or stepping into their own healing practices, but giving space for them to express themselves and giving them the mic, right? Like saying, yes, it's your time. Absolutely. Move forward. So I think that's really important to do. And I think that for young people, it's important to step in and surrender. There's a lot of knowledge. It's important for the young people too. And when I say that, I mean, there's a path that's there for you. So trust that it's there. There may be a lot of questions, but trust that it's there because your abuelitas and abuelitos have all prayed for that for you.
I think the question I would want to know from your perspective is, what does this young generation need to understand about our elders? I mean, because you counsel everybody. When we're young, we think we know everything, and that our elders are like old-fashioned and they don't know nothing, but they they're like walking encyclopedias. But just because of our naiveness at that young age, it's hard for us to just, like you said, surrender and be open to what they want to share or what, teachings they want to pass on or whatever. But is there something that you can see, especially, because we work with a lot of elders, that maybe these children need to understand about us? I'm saying myself.
I guess what I think about is that it's a two-way street. We can all learn from each other. All our paths do come together, and sometimes it's a sweet message that a grandchild has, and we're like, where did they say that from? Right? Like, and I needed to hear that right now. And it just reminded me of just so much love, right? And so that, yes, all our paths do come together, and that we all give to one another in ways in perfect timing, and that we should always all be open to all those gifts. And because that not only enriches our lives, but then we're able to, triple, quadruple that to other people, right? And so we're just like those prisms that continue to radiate more light. And so being open to that, to all of those blessings.
That Olin,
Beautiful.
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 Thank
You know, my father made 18 years. That's unbelievable. He transitioned 18 years ago this past November. And I remember, because it was a man that I always wanted to learn. I remember he would just say, and what do you think? And I think sometimes that's how we need to come together, right? It's like, what do you think? As we share, because we're all teachers and students at the same time, learning and giving. That's that reciprocity, that Olin, Maestra, that you had said, right? The giving and receiving, the learning and the teaching. My time has gone by so fast. I mean, I knew it was going to go so quick.
Yeah.
And we're just so grateful to have had you. And I know that if you're listening, I know without a shadow of a doubt, there was something that you needed to hear that was said on this podcast. And our hope is that those words will continue you and be helpful and useful to you on your healing journey. And as you continue to navigate your life. And we just want to thank you. There's 101 things you could have done, but you chose to join us from around the world on this podcast. And so we thank you for being those loyal listeners and for joining us when we come together. Ay, comadre, we're about to step into 2025. This is our last podcast of the year. And, it's been an unbelievable journey this year.
Absolutely.
And last words. Any last words here?
Gracias a Dios we made it, comadre, this far. After all the challenges. But just feeling so blessed to work with you, Maestra, and to be guided and mentored and learn so much from you, your wisdom, your support, and just to cruise with you, just be and not forget to laugh as always. You have that special medicine that you carry for all of us that reminds us to remember the joy, to have fun and laugh even at ourselves. That's okay. I appreciate that. But looking forward to 2025, I hope, we'll really come alive in 2025. Primero Dios.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for your words. And that's a mutual feeling. We learn from each other, and I couldn't do it without you. And listeners, thank you. Thank you so much as we come to the closure of this podcast. Maya, thank you, mija, for joining us, your presence. And we just wish you bendiciones as you also continue. Much love to you and your family.
Thank you.
As we go into 2025. And so with that, I want to thank you and just say bendiciones here from the Bay Area. My comadre.
Bendiciones. And I know you made your grandma real proud today, man. She's just smiling. I could just feel her spirit right there behind you. So beautiful. So beautiful. So supported you are. And so bless you. God bless you on your journey. No, we're always here to support you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor.
And any last words from you, Maya?
It's been an amazing journey. It's such an honor to be here with both of you today. And I just feel so filled. And thank you once again. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Gracias.
So with that, we'll sign off. Bendiciones. And please take care. Remember, no one will take care of yourself if it isn't for you. So with that, bendiciones.
Bendiciones. Adelante.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.